What's good, Internet? My name is attackslug, and welcome back to my Monday Night Raw reactions for the week of August the 8th, 2016. As always, let me know what you thought of the show down in the comments below, and I will get into my long and rambling thoughts, and I will attempt to not repeat myself as much as Raw has been repeating itself. Let's go. Anyway, we recap as we do here on Raw now. There's a recap at the top of the show, and one of these days, like, nothing new is going to happen at all, and you won't have anything to recap that doesn't feel like last week. But hey, we're also going to recap SmackDown, because why the fuck not? Things happened with Brock Lesnar on SmackDown, so of course you're going to recap that. And we open up Raw with a 15-minute promo segment. Man, how about that new era, guys? Now, granted, it was a 15-minute promo segment with Enzo, Cass, Chris Jericho, and Kevin Owens, and I like all four of those guys, and certainly having Enzo and Jericho going back and forth on the mic is a fantastic bit, but I don't think you needed 15 minutes to set up your tag match at SummerSlam, which will be Enzo and Cass versus Jericho and KO, and I guess they're going to call them Jericho or something? I don't know. They obviously need a tag team name, and certainly I like the fact that they kept Jericho and Owens on the same show because they are fantastic as a pair. So yes, that was kind of your opening segment. It was alright, but again, it took way too long, and that went straight into having a singles match with Enzo and Jericho, and they had their respective mans in their corners. One of the things that I don't like about the announce table being all the way up, on the stage, is that Owens can't yell at Michael Cole anymore, and that's disappointing. So, this match ended up with a disqualification because there was a distraction here by Owens holding on to Enzo's leg, and then he got a code breaker, and that pissed off Big Cass, who gave Jericho the big boot. DQ, Jericho wins by DQ. It was an alright open to Raw, but again, it took a little bit too long. So, then we had Mick Foley and Sasha Banks in the back. Stephanie McMahon not in the building this evening. That moved on. Actually, that set up Sasha and Dana Brooke later on in the evening with some stipulations I will get into when I cover that match. Then we had Braun once again fighting a local jobber who was not actually currently in the ring. He was backstage. So they gave the jobber his own entrance. So they're doing these things with Braun over and over again each week, which is basically the same thing, but they're tweaking it just a little bit, just enough to not have the crowd chanting boring, or Goldberg, which at some point they might start chanting because he's just doing the same simple squash every single week. So, I'm not mad about it yet, but it's starting to get there. There's nothing else I could say this week that I didn't say about it last week or the week before. So, it feels like they went, hey, Raw, new era, wrote down a bunch of bullet points, and are just hitting those bullet points every fucking week now, which is kind of weird. Anyway, we go to Mick Foley again backstage with P. Diddy, who the crowd immediately booed, who was then joined by The New Day. That's kind of the only way to alleviate that segment, is to have The New Day involved, and I did enjoy the throwback, can't stop, won't stop, bad boy. That's so 90s, and I did enjoy that, and thankfully, for having P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, whatever the fuck he calls himself these days, as a guest host, he was contained to this one backstage segment. There was no in-ring bullshit, there was no concert bullshit, there was nothing. Hey, one little thing saying, hey, you're curating the soundtrack for 2K17, bye. And that was it, so appreciated that. Speaking of things that happened last week, we have Titus ONeil and Darren Young again. We have your 50-50 booking, where we reverse the roles and have Darren Young roll up Titus ONeil, get the tights. So, whether or not either of these guys are face or heel, it's kind of confusing. But the important distinction here that they showed after the match was that Darren Young got the tights and Bob Backlund didn't see it happen. So that's kind of a important little detail there. So I guess we'll see where that goes moving forward. obviously those guys aren't going to fight at SummerSlam. Maybe at the pre-show? I don't know. This moves on to a Seth Rollins in the ring doing the Seth Rollins promo recap. They have him do so often, and it kind of just went on and on and on. They had some video package stuff, and it just went on, and the crowd kind of didn't care. Like, the crowd didn't care enough to chant what at Seth Rollins, so I'm not sure what the point of any of that was. It feels like WWE only has two ways to build a feud. Either you have matches every fucking week, or you just talk every week. There's no in-between. Like, come on, there is an in-between here, and it's called Interesting Things Happening, and they kind of have a problem doing that with a lot of these feuds. Anyway, speaking of guys fighting every week, we have Sheamus versus Cesaro once again. And match was alright. First of all, everybody stop fucking doing suicide dives, Jesus Christ. As impressive as Cesaro was as a goddamn human torpedo, seriously, stop. You don't have to do it every goddamn week. Make it special. Also, this may have been the only time in his career where the fans were chanting, "This is awesome," at Sheamus during a match. Seriously, that's unheard of. But yes, that was a fun match with some fun counters, and I did enjoy it. And Cesaro got the win. Once again, there was some referee shenanigans there in the end. So after that, we get a Randy Orton-Brock Lesnar video package, building up the Randy Orton-Brock Lesnar thing. They did go and show some OVW footage, and the one thing you would never have expected to hear in 2016 on WWE program, the voice of Jim Cornette. Holy shit. That was crazy. But it's weird, they're specifically not showing their 2002 match on SmackDown between Brock and Randy Orton. I don't know why they aren't showing it as part of their highlight reel. Perhaps they'll show part of it next week, or perhaps they'll show part of it at SummerSlam in that video package build-up. But they're not. They're avoiding it, which is weird, because that exists. They're going out of their way to say the first time on pay-per-view, because they can't say the first time ever, because certainly it happened on SmackDown in '02. Now then, we go into the making no sense territory and having a match for the sake of having a match territory. It is the Dudley Boyz versus Neville and the partner of his choosing, which is Sin Cara, who is still using the Lucha Dragons theme song, and I think also that Kalisto is using. So, do they both get to use that theme song now, even though they're not on different shows? And 1, 2, kick out. And also, what the fuck was Sin Cara wearing? So this was kind of just a excuse to have Neville go over and have a match on Raw and say, "Hey, Neville!" So yes, Neville and Sin Cara won, and I kind of don't understand what the point of having that match was, but hey, it was a match. Anyway, Rusev and Lana are out to reenact their wedding stuff that happened in real life, and also part of the Total Divas stuff that they filmed. They go, "Hey, we're going to do it on Raw because they're married now, and we got to have something to help build this match with Roman Reigns at SummerSlam." So I will say that at least the crowd was more engaged for this than they were for that Seth Rollins recap promo. They were chanting "what," and as much as I hate the "what" chant, at least they were chanting something. When they showed the wedding photos, they were chanting "boring," which is the perfect thing to chant there, because nobody wants to see anybody else's wedding photos. That is the most boring thing in the world, so kudos to the crowd on chanting "boring" for that. Kudos to Lana for wanting to renew her marriage vows. That was a really funny line. I'm not sure if it was on purpose or not. Oh hey, Cesaro wins. Now, the opening part of this segment went on way too long before Roman Reigns obviously came down to the ring, and I was kind of like, the crowd was sort of booing him, but not 100% like as bad as it has been. So perhaps that's an improvement, or, you know, that's mostly based on where they are, but certainly that match is going to be in Brooklyn. So as I said before, that's kind of a problem for Roman Reigns. But I will say, Roman Reigns not nearly as bad here on the mic as he has been in previous weeks and months and years, so I will give him bonus points for some improvement there. Now, I did expect somebody to get spine-bustered into that fucking cake, and that didn't happen. That was kind of a shame. What ends up happening here is that Roman shoves Rusev, who knocks into Lana, who just gets a face full of cake, because obviously, in any segment that has a cake in it, someone's getting hit with that cake. So, then, there is a challenge here for SummerSlam, which he declines, but then obviously gets put into that match later on by Mick Foley. Anyway, next match was Sasha Banks versus Dana Brooke, and the stipulation here is that if Dana Brooke wins, she gets to be in a handicap match with Charlotte versus Sasha at SummerSlam. But if she loses, she is banned from ringside. Really quick match with a weird finish. Dana Brooke loses to the double knees in the corner on the ropes and gets pinned because of a distraction from Charlotte. The whole thing felt kind of rushed. But yes, Sasha wins, so that means Dana Brooke banned from ringside at SummerSlam. We get our Finn Balor response to the Seth Rollins in-ring thing in a pre-taped deal. And I will say, certainly, a lot of times, having guys who perhaps aren't the best in front of a live crowd, having them in a pre-taped situation, prevents the crowd from giving them the what treatment and just, and or not caring. It makes them pay attention more. Certainly, it works pretty well with Bray Wyatt, so we did tease the appearance of the Demon at SummerSlam, which certainly begs the question, if you have Finn go through all this stuff to be the Demon at SummerSlam, does he then lose as the Demon? I don't think he would, but then again, you could incorporate shenanigans there with that match finish. Anyway, another pre-tape. We have Anderson and Gallows as doctors, but obviously, where the fuck are their stethoscopes? Besides that, we had nut jokes about Big E having a contusion. They had some eggs in a little jar. It was kind of not PG, it was verging a little bit toward the not PG era. Then we have Kofi Kingston versus Gallows in a one-on-one where Gallows wins this match. They tease the ring post nut shot again, but Xavier Woods has a chair, and that is the equalizer. Those two teams will fight at SummerSlam, and certainly I would expect to see Big E back at SummerSlam for that match. Then it is time to promote the Scooby-Doo movie, so you have Goldust looking for R-Truth, who's in the fucking Mystery Machine, with a big, giant Scooby-Doo thing, and they're arguing about not... I don't care. I can't even care. So let's just move on from that nonsense. So, out comes Mick Foley, who invited Daniel Bryan to the ring to discuss what had happened with Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton. Last week, they kind of get into it a little bit, but then out comes Rusev, who's like, look, I'm the most important champion here, so fuck all y'all. But then out comes Cesaro, who is still mad and wants his title shot, so he gets that shot tonight in the actual main event, which is Rusev versus Cesaro for the U.S. title. But that gets interference from Sheamus, so apparently the League of Nations are still a thing. Rusev wins, because obviously Rusev's going to win here, because you wouldn't give Cesaro the U.S. belt when they just confirmed the Rusev versus Roman Reigns match for SummerSlam. So this was, a neat little match with those two. But Rusev wins, and then out comes, at the very end, Roman Reigns with his... He likes doing that spear down the ramp move to Rusev, spears him to end the show. And my only lingering question for this whole show, and SummerSlam at large, where the fuck is Sami Zayn? Seriously, where the fuck is Sami Zayn? The one guy who's been having fucking show-stealing matches all goddamn year, and he's not on SummerSlam at all? He's not on Raw at all? You fucking have Sin Cara on Raw, and no Sami Zayn? Are you serious, bro? Why couldn't you have Sami Zayn in that match with Neville for no reason? Like, I'm baffled. I'm absolutely fucking baffled. This show has no Sami Zayn. Next week is the go-home show for Raw. You better have some fucking Sami Zayn. Anyway, I'm attackslug. That was my Raw reactions. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below, and I will see you next time at Everyday Fun Videos right here on this channel. And I'm out.